Hi friends, and welcome to the very first Crafty experiments. I'm Miss Elizabeth from the Finkelstein Memorial Library, and today we are going to be making crystal critters. So hopefully you have picked up your craft kit at the library. If you haven't, and we still have any spots available, you can register after the fact for any extra materials. So give it a try. If not, hopefully you can find most of these materials by yourself. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to decide what kind of critter we want to make for our crafty experiment. So I think I'm probably going to aim for a dog. And we'll see if it ends up looking like a dog. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take one of our pipe cleaners, and you just need something round like a Sharpie, any sort of marker. That works fine, and we're just going to wrap it around. So we're just going to wrap our pipe cleaner around the Sharpie. Easy peasy. And we're actually going to leave it on here while we do the next part. So we want to cut this in 4. So you can just bend it, grab some scissors, cut it here. And then I'm just going to bend these just a little bit, just to make sure that they're even-ish. And these are going to be our legs. Okay. Next part's a little trickier, so we'll just do our best. Okay, the next thing we want to do is take one of our little legs, and we're going to thread it through here. We're going to leave it on the Sharpie so that it doesn't lose its shape, because if we take it off, it might get all mangled. So we're going to put it where the legs would be. Could put it here. All right, so we're putting it directly through. We're just going to fold it in half. Fold it all the way like a twist tie on a loaf of bread. Okay. And then that's pretty secure. So now I'm going to do that with the other ones. So I still have 3 more. So if that leg is over here, I'm going to want this leg to be about on the other side. Right, if we're making a dog. Although you guys can make whatever kind of critters you want, so could be anything. I think the tail is honestly going to be difficult, so I feel like a squirrel would be ambitious. But we will figure it out together. It is going to be cute no matter what. And if you notice, see, I'm the only one that notices, but these two aren't completely even, so I'm just going to trim it. Okay. And now I'm going to do the front paws. So I got 1, I got 2, and you want to just kind of make sure that it can stand by itself once you put all the legs or paws on. Just twisting it on like we talked about. Okay. Okay, almost done. Okay, so then you might need to fix it a little bit, make that a little tighter. And then, like I said, you want to make sure you can take it off now, that it can stand like a critter. Mine does. See? Got 4 legs. Okay, now if you want to bend your legs, if you want to put them out or anything for paws, you could do that at this point. But we will actually be modifying them a little bit later, but we just want to get the structure on there before we get into crystallizing the body. So then you're going to take your next pipe cleaner, And we're just going to cut this one in half for the tail. Okay, now of course if you have pipe cleaners at home and you want to use a different color, that's fine. I did include the same colors in each one just so it would be easier. I gave you guys an extra in case you messed up, or if not, if everything went perfectly, then you might have enough to make another, a smaller one maybe. Okay, so we are going to go to the end for this one, and we're going to fit it right through on the end. And what we want to do is make sure that it's all connected. Okay, so I'm going to twist the end of the coil first around it. Okay, so it's connected. And then I'm going to twist the rest of the tail. Okay, that is really, really long tail. I'm going to double twist it because that was a little too tall for me. Okay, now that's a good tail. Looks like a perfect. This might have to be a cat. I don't know, guys. I don't know. What do you think, friends? It's looking like a cat, which is fine. I like cats. I have a cat. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the straws out that were included in the kit. Doesn't matter what they look like. They're not staying on the critters. They are just going to protect the legs and tail from the crystals, because what we're going to do in this crafty experiment is we are just going to crystallize the body of our crystal critters. So we want to keep the other parts, the legs and the tail, not getting crystals on them. So really easy. You can either pre-cut the straw or you can feed it onto like the pipe cleaners first and then cut them. Whatever works for you. So I'm feeding mine on, and then I cut it. You just want to make sure it's covered. So if it's a tiny bit extra, it's fine. We just want to make sure that they are covered. Okay, number 2. And again, don't worry about what kind of straw it is. It is just a covering for the next part of the experiment. Okay. All right. And the last leg. Okay. There. Now, see, I chose to double twist the tail, right, because it was too long. I don't know if it's going to fit in the straw. We're going to have to see. Try to pinch it really tight. But, you know, we're learning as we go. So every time you do a new experiment, you learn something new. So I am learning that maybe, I don't know if this straw is going to cover it. We'll see. If not, you could also just crystallize the tail too. You know what? I'm going to crystallize the tail. We're going to see how it looks. So we're just going to cover our feet. So then our feet and our head won't have crystals, but our body, and if you made a very large tail like I did, your tail will be crystallized as well. And then it should look like this. It's a little less stable with his straws. Okay, the next step is you want to find a glass cup that you have permission to use for this experiment. Any glass cup will do. You just want one that's large enough. And then we're going to measure just by looking. We're not going to get out any rollers. We're going to figure out how we're going to put our crystal critter in here so that it is not touching any sides. We don't want it to touch any sides, or we don't want the bottom to touch it. So everyone has a piece of elastic included in their kit and a popsicle stick. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tie it really, really good on the popsicle stick. You do not want it to fall off. So we're just going to tie it. We're going to make a couple knots. Just make one more for good measure. Okay. And then you're going to kind of need to measure, right? Because this popsicle stick, oh, I'm just going to cut off the extra part over here. The popsicle stick is going to sit like this, okay? See? And your crystal critter is going to hang at the end of the string. So you're going to need to kind of measure before you're exactly sure where you want to cut your thread, okay? So like my crystal critter, this is a pretty deep glass that I picked, so I should be good if he's there. You can kind of put your thumb where you want to attach to your crystal critter and then try to cut there. You can always ask a grown-up for help too, and hopefully they can help. Keep in mind you do want to leave a little bit extra at the end because you need to actually tie it on. So I'm going to tie it right to the top notch, right on the back of the crystal critter. And again, I'm going to make a couple knots just to be safe. I'm going to make a few because we do not want this to fall off because it's going to start to grow crystals. So it's going to get heavier and we don't want it to fall. All right, let's see. Let's see if I measured that right. Oh. I might have made it a little too low. Let's see. We can always cut things. So it looks like my tail is causing some trouble. And depending on the kind of critter the kind of critter that you made, you can also do it horizontally. If it's a really long one, you could attach right at the end, like to the tail or to where the head's gonna go. So whatever works. Okay, I think we're actually good now. Okay, look, so our crystal critter doesn't touch anything. Okay, now we are going to definitely ask a grown-up for some help because we are going to use the stove briefly and make our borax solution. Okay, so we're actually going to take our crystal critter out of the glass for a second. We want to figure out how much water we need to add to the glass that will cover the crystal critter. So what I did was I filled up my measuring cup for 1 cup of water, and we're just going to see how that fills up this glass. And that actually looks pretty good. We're going to round to the nearest cup. So you want to make sure that you estimate doing rounding to the nearest cup. So that looks pretty good. So I think we're ready for the stove now. Okay, so the first step that we're going to do is we're going to ask a grown-up to help because we're going to be using the stove. We're going to be getting a pot, and I have an electric stove, but most of you probably have gas. So either way, you and your grown-up can turn that on because we are going to boil our water. So I have that here in the glass, and I'm just going to pour that in and turn on the stove, and we're going to wait for it to boil. Okay, so that is boiling up, so we're going to remove it from the heat. So move it to another burner, and in your craft kits, I measured out 1 baggie full, but I'm just going to measure directly from here, and the 1 baggie full is actually 6 teaspoons. So you're just going to put in a little bit at a time and stir. Okay, and you'll start to notice the more you add that it's going to get cloudier. So now you can see it's all dissolved. So your water should look cloudy but dissolved. And we are going to pour that directly into our glass. So again, be very careful. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to put our crystal critter right in here. And remember, we don't want our critter to touch anything. Okay? So you don't want the straws to be touching the sides because then it'll get stuck. Okay, it looks like the tip of my tail may not get crystallized, but that's okay. So we are actually going to put this overnight. If you have pets or younger siblings, you want to make sure that no one accidentally drinks this water. So if you want to put this in another room, or if you're doing it early in the morning, you could just wait a few hours. But it's a little late when I'm doing it, so I'm going to put this in the other room because I have a kitty cat. I don't want him to accidentally drink my crystal critter. He'll get sick. So I am going to see what it looks like in the morning, and we'll check it out. Okay, so we left our crystal critter soaking in that solution, and he looks pretty crystallized. So I'm pretty happy with those size of crystals. If you aren't, you can certainly leave him in longer or take him out sooner if you're looking and you're like, oh, this is perfect. And so we are going to take it out. We're going to trim that string off, and we're going to let him dry before we add on his head. Okay, friends, so we have let our crystal critters dry. So here is what my crystal critter looks like, all dried. There we go. Lots of crystals. So the first thing is, like we talked about, we're going to cut off that string. We're literally just going to cut it off. And if you're able to cut off where the tie is to get the string all the way off, that's great. Otherwise, you're gonna have a little tie on your crystal critter. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. I'm almost there. Wow, I have a lot of crystals on here, guys. Look at this. Okay, can I do it? There we go. Okay. And I am free. My crystal critter is free. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the straws. So just one by one, you'll see that underneath the legs are going to be pretty rigid. So we're literally just taking these off. I had my crystal critter in a little bowl, a paper bowl to dry. So I'm using it underneath because some crystals might fall out. So it's going to be easier to clean up after. Okay. All right. So if you want to, at this time, you can do some twirls and put like a coil of pipe cleaner over the legs. For me, I actually think that this is really cute. I think it actually makes it look more like a cat, which I guess is what I'm going for now. So I think I'm going to leave my crystal critter like this, and I actually really like the way that the tail came out too. I think that this looks like a cat. So I'm not going to add any, but if you were, like I said, you could just really easily twirl on some extra pipe cleaner and make the legs or the tail look more bushy. But I'm really liking how mine looks. So I'm just going to focus on friends. So then we're going to take another pipe cleaner and we're going to make the head. So obviously I am working on a cat head. So we're going to start by making a little triangle and pointing it like this. So we want it to look like that. Then we're going to bend this part up so that this goes around. You see what I'm doing here? So we have like a pointy triangle part, kind of twirled around like this. Okay, so this is just this part. So get your pipe cleaner to look like this first, and then just hook that on. So we're going to twirl this. So now we've got a triangle on a string, and then we're going to start to fold it over okay? Because we want to fill it up, because this is going to be the head part. I'm going to make my triangle a little big. Let's see. So we're going to fill it up. 1, 2. We're just going to see how it works. You can definitely try any other way to make your head. This is just the way of the tutorial that I've been following to make crystal critters. I'm sure there are many other ways. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so for me, this is perfect for a cat. Before I attach it, I am going to add googly eyes. I've got my 2 ears already here, so that's perfect. In your kit, I've included googly eyes, but I also included glue dots because when you're talking about pipe cleaners, it can be kind of hard to get things to stick to them. So glue dots are really cool. So they look like this. So we peel it off just like a sticker. Okay, then this part's garbage. And you put it like that. And you press and you hold it for maybe 30 seconds. And then once that time has passed, we are going to try to peel it off and leave the sticky part on the pipe cleaner. Now, since the googly eyes that I also put in the kits also have adhesive, hopefully they'll really stay on between the two. Alright, let's test it out. It's going to be tricky, but it stayed on. Can you see? Kind of. There you go, you see that jelly part? That's a sticker. So then I'm going to peel off a googly eye. I'm going to stick it right on the sticky part. Bam. One eye. Okay, I'm actually really loving how this is coming out. It's a little uneven. But he's really cute. So now the trickiest part, we are going to add the head into our crystal critter. Now, it works out well for me. There's space right here. So I'm going to hook him in. And I'm just going to try my best to attach him. Right, we're going to try to twirl like we did before we added the crystals and like we did when we were making the head. Again, a lot of this is trial and error, and you might come up with a totally easier, cool way to do it. Or you might be making a monster instead of a crystal critter. Maybe you want to make a crystal monster. And that's pretty good. Okay, well, I totally love it. I don't know about you guys. He is a pretty cute crystal critter. And he's so cute, he stands. So he's kind of like a cat, right? Maybe a fox, I don't know. So you can add these to a keychain. You can just keep them in your room. Yeah, you can put them on display, whatever works, whatever you want to do with them. And if you made a really small one, maybe you have enough items in your kit to make a second one, or maybe you can teach one of your friends how to make them. The powder that was included is just the borax powder, so if you find a grown-up to purchase you some, maybe you can make some again in the future. But I really hope that you guys liked making these, and please, please, please email us at fmlchild@rcls.org or on Instagram or Facebook at Finkelstein Library. And I totally want to see your crystal critters. I hope that they are as cute and charming as mine are. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.